Hey folks, just jumping on here real quick to tell you that unfortunately during this episode I had some major technical difficulties with my microphone. So there are some spots where it sounds like I'm really, really quiet and really low. I apologize for the difference in the sound quality. We have that fixed now, and the next episode will not sound that way.
Today's conversation is one of those that just fills you with hope, even when the topic is heavy. I'm joined today by Marie Medlin, the founder of Warrior Braids Ministry and Christ and Coffee Time Co., my favorite, coffee. Tina has walked through more than 30 years of health challenges: Crohn's disease, an ostomy, liver disease, fibromyalgia, kidney stones, you name it. But what's so powerful about her story is how she's chosen to turn every ounce of that pain into purpose. She's honest about the hard parts because chronic illness isn't all rainbows and unicorns, right? As much as we wish it was. But she also reminds us that with faith, community, and a whole lot of grace, victory in the valley is possible. So grab your favorite drink, settle in, and let's talk about what it really looks like to walk with Jesus through chronic illness. Tina, I am so excited to have you here today. I've been really looking forward to this conversation because your story and your heart for helping other women walking through chronic illness with faith and honesty are so powerful. Welcome to the Invisible Illness Club.
Thank you. I was so excited to hear about this podcast, and I'm so glad we finally got together.
I know we've been trying to do this for months, folks.
Yes. When you have an invisible illness, it doesn't always work.
Yes, exactly. So Tina, tell us, for the listeners who might be new to you, give us a little bit about your story, how your health journey began, that kind of thing.
Sure. So I got diagnosed with Crohn's about 30 years ago, and probably for the first 5 to 10 years or so, I was kind of in denial. I was in my 20s, so, we're invincible when we're in our 20s. So I didn't quite take the medicine the way I was supposed to. And I mean, I did, but didn't, back and forth. But then I started getting sicker and sicker. And so I had to, start taking, more powerful meds, and did that for many, many years, on and off different, every single med that came out, all the new biologics, I was put on it, and unfortunately had adverse reactions to it. One drug I had gotten drug-induced lupus with. 2 other drugs I would start running high fevers with. And so we had to, keep trying different drugs. And then, of course, we had to fight insurance companies on stuff like that. That's a whole nother podcast. And so finally, in 2013, I had to have my colon removed and part of my small intestine and part of my rectum. So I live with an ostomy bag now, and have, had complications with that throughout the year since 2013. Most recently in June, had a peristomal hernia and part of my small intestine coiled up. And so they had to go in and fix that, and then had more complications. So it's weird right now. 52 is my number, and that's how many operations I've had. Have not all been Crohn's related, but I'm 52 and I've had 52, and I'd really like to keep going with my age with no more operations.
Be done at 52? Yes,
exactly.
I would
too. That would be great. so much.
Wow.
But yeah, that's the story, at least the Crohn's side. Yeah.
The quick and dirty. So Crohn's disease, ostomy bag. I hear liver disease, fibromyalgia, so many different things.
Yes.
That's a lot to carry. What has that looked like for you day to day? And how
Mhm.
has your perspective changed over these years?
As I get older, it gets harder. When I was younger, dealing with all this, I had my, flare days, bad days, but bounce back fairly quickly when I would have to do, different things for work. Now I find that, for example, I sometimes do events or conferences, and then I'm down for the count for a few days. Like I just have to rest. I just have to sleep. I slept actually most of Sunday from an event on Saturday. So I would say it's changed. I mean, my body has changed. A lot of people, as we get older, you hear that, think, oh, I'm slowing down, this and that. And I think I'm definitely slowing down as well, but I don't know if I'm slowing down faster or it just hits me different. I don't know. It's definitely a struggle day to day. It's hard for me to schedule things because I never know how I'm going to feel. I try to have a very positive attitude, and I do try to schedule out for my own well-being, but I do know, and I always preface anything that I schedule, whether it's an event or something like that, I preface it with, things can change. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to feel. So that's frustrating for myself, and I'm sure for the person having to receive it.
It can be really, really hard when we wake up knowing we have to go do this errand, this doctor, this conference, whatever it is.
Right.
And then we already feel like crap at the beginning of the day. And then this happened to me yesterday because I have hardly any laundry left, right? Because it's been a crazy week. So I had to go do laundry on a day when I'm still recovering from other things.
Yeah.
And it is what it is sometimes. So
it's hard. Yeah.
I think we have to change our mindset in those moments. Like, okay, I have to get this done. Where can I squeeze in rest in the middle of it?
Well, I took a little nap between the podcasts this morning, and I was like, okay, how much longer can I sleep before I have to get up?
Right.
And at least
I have to look presentable.
I'm like, let me brush my hair. Okay, at least it's still good from this morning.
Exactly.
But, yeah, it's an interesting life. But I feel like as I get older too, I'm a lot more transparent about my disease now than I was, even 10 years ago. I mean, I've always been open about it, but having like the social media platform and starting the Warrior Braids ministry, and it's just, I feel like I've been dealt these cards for a reason. I feel God, a lot of people are like, oh, aren't you mad at God because he gave you Crohn's? I'm like, well, he didn't give me Crohn's, but he clearly has a purpose for me by me having Crohn's. And so, I try to be positive. I know it's my purpose here on this earth, and I want to do what I can do and be obedient and faithful to him. And I just actually wrote a little, I call them lessons on Facebook about, people ask me why I push myself, because sometimes I push, and I'm sure you do too.
Yes.
And your listeners do. And, people are like, well, if you know that you're going to be out for the count for 3 days, why do you push? And I said, because it's not about me. I said, I'm not doing just like stupid things. I'm doing something that God's asked me to do. So, I know that he'll be my strength in order to get through it. And then I rest, and then I look for the next thing to do.
Right. The next thing.
Because I want to live.
This really leads well into my next question. Using our pain for purpose, right?
Mm-hmm.
So can you walk us through that moment or that season when God started showing you how to take all of this and turn it into a ministry?
Yeah, it's a fun story. Actually, I just spoke about this at a conference a couple weeks ago. I call it my little mustard seed. I was actually in the hospital recovering from one of my surgeries, and it was very quiet. I actually had a moment of peace when people weren't coming in, getting vitals and poking me about something. And I just heard like a whisper that was just saying, I have a job for you. I have something for you to do. And I'm just like, I'm thinking, okay, it's the drugs. I'm hearing things.
Right. I'm high. It's all right.
I hit the button one too many times. But it kept sitting with me. I was just like, I have something for you. And I'm like, I want you to do something for me. And I'm like, okay, what? What is it?
Yeah.
And it was basically, he said, I want you to start a ministry for people with chronic illnesses. I want you to help people know that they're not alone. And it was like, okay, but I am sick. I'm in the hospital. I don't feel well. How am I supposed to do that? And it just, nothing really happened right then. It just, the mustard seed was planted. And at that time I was still working. And so, it just kept eating at me. I'm like, what on earth? And then actually fast forward a little bit, probably a year later, I had a very close call up in the hospital up in Chapel Hill. And I don't tell this story very often, but my best friend had passed away about a year prior, and she I saw her, like I was like the doctors, like I had coded, and it was crazy. And she was there. I thought I was it. I was like, okay, I'm ready, and she's like, no, you're not. It's not time for you. You have something big that you're going to be doing. And I'm like, oh, no, you're here. I'm ready. Because she was always there for me. She was a nurse.
Time to go. We're good.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I'm at peace. I'm good. And she's like, no, it's not your time. And, I just want you to know that it's not your time and you've got big things to happen. So, between that and the whisper, I was like, okay, God. So basically Warrior Braids was born very small, wasn't really sure what I was doing. Started basically with a Warrior box, which that might be your next question.
Yes. Go ahead and explain it to us.
Yeah, so Warrior box is basically a custom-made box that we make for people that are newly diagnosed with like cancer or another disease, or are suffering from an existing chronic illness. And so people can request the box, and they do it through our website. And basically we have different questions that we ask so we can get to know the person a little bit better, like, maybe favorite color, favorite scripture, hobbies, things they like, things they don't, maybe smells, that kind of thing, for candles and, that sort of stuff. And then we put the box together and we send it to them, and there's a note in there, and it tells, who requested it and all that. And it's so funny because those boxes arrive exactly at the right time.
Yeah.
Exactly. Even if I think I'm late.
How God does it, folks.
Oh, I know. Because I'm telling you, all those days in the hospital over the summer, I had boxes that were, needed to be filled, and I wasn't there to do it. And God was like, it's okay. And they got there when they needed to get there. So I was like,
that's awesome.
Fantastic. So yeah, that's a big part of our ministry. That's how it started, was through the Warrior boxes.
That is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I know you also lead Christ and Coffee Time. I've been sipping on my afternoon coffee. So tell us what that is and how that kind of fits in with everything.
Yeah. So Christ and Coffee Time is basically our business, that what we do is we sell Christian merchandise through Christ and Coffee Time, and the proceeds go right back into the ministry to help to help fund our Warrior boxes. And to kind of, we have some other projects coming down the pipe. So we have those. We're hoping to do some scholarships. We're planning to do a retreat, hopefully in 2026 or 2027, for people with chronic illness,
Awesome.
and have speakers, and just, a Christian-based retreat. So there's some stuff coming down the pike, but I love creating. And so I do, bracelets and T-shirts, and all the designs, are unique to Warrior Braids Ministry and Christ and Coffee Time. So it's really fun because I get to do like the creative side of me, and it's helping. It's for a good cause. So, instead of having someone else do it, I just do it. Because there's most of my days, unfortunately, are spent on the couch. Or in bed. And
Gives
so
you something to occupy your mind and your hands.
yeah, because there's days that you feel like you haven't accomplished anything. And that's something I started a while ago when I was feeling really, kind of down on myself, like especially when the days were being spent on the couch. And so I started writing every day about, what I accomplished, even if it was small. Like I made 4 bracelets today, or, I designed some T-shirts. I wrote a chapter in my book that I'm writing, so it sounds silly, but it kind of, when you're not doing a normal day, when you're not doing a normal, like 9-to-5 job, you still want to feel like you've accomplished something. You don't want to feel like you're lazy. You don't want to feel like you're not doing anything, but sometimes you're just so limited on what you can do that you have to find a way to perk yourself up a bit and
our bodies weren't made to just sit all day anyway, and those of us that have to, because of our illnesses, that becomes a very difficult thing. So then we get in our heads and we start questioning things and saying things to ourselves that are lies. And having something to do, especially if you're a creative person like you, because by the way, guys, these bracelets are the most beautiful things I have seen in a while. And I'm like, at some point, she's got to tell me how to get one because I love them.
Just let me know. Send it to you.
Yes. But having something to do, especially in the creative brain, gives our minds a break from other things. I sit and crochet while I watch TV. And so that gives my hands and therefore my brain something to do besides picking up my phone and dividing my attention between something. So, it's a good thing. Well,
that's how you get through football season and baseball season.
Yeah, no kidding, right? I'm gonna be sitting there going, all right, you can watch the game. I will make this scarf. So we know, and you have said that living like this is not all rainbows and unicorns, though.
Nope.
I really wish it was, because I love unicorns. So when it comes to chronic illness, what are some of the hardest truths that you wish other people who didn't have one understood better?
I would say probably the first thing is your outward appearance isn't always how you feel.
Yes.
Something I had actually said this morning is, when someone looks at me and says, "Oh my gosh, you look good," and it's like, it's almost like, and I appreciate it. I appreciate it, but it's also like nails on a chalkboard.
Yeah.
Because you know how bad you feel. That's really hard. Or another thing is people just, I would say, I don't expect people to understand the disease, like what I go through day to day.
Nor do we want them to.
No, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. But just having just trying to be a bit more understanding, and know that if we're not able to do something, don't hold it against us. If we are, we have to, I'm sure you know about the spoon theory, and I'm sure most of the listeners, when I saw the spoon theory, I don't know how many years ago, I was like, oh my gosh, that's it. And that's like a thing in the house. It's like, how many spoons do you have left today? And just really, have you started with any, or are you still,
Are you in a deficit?
Usually in a deficit, sometimes a few day deficit. But I don't know, just the other thing too is I appreciate when people ask how I'm feeling, but sometimes, and it's probably my fault because I am so transparent about what's going on, but I want to be defined more than of my illness. I don't want to be defined by my illness. And it's a hard balance between trying to be an advocate and be positive and trying to help others that might feel alone, might not be as transparent, and try and help people. But, also I'm more than Crohn's. I don't know if that answers your question, but
that's okay.
Yeah.
It's your answer to the question, and that's what matters the most. So, and the truth is we are defined by our illness, but we're not defined by our illness.
Right.
There is a lot with someone that has chronic illness. It is always on our minds. It never stops. It's always there. We don't stop thinking about it. So in that way, we are defined by our chronic illness. However, we also want to be a mother and a sister and a wife and a, business person and whatever else. So we don't completely want to always be talking about it.
Right.
So
but it does always seem to come back. Yeah. I always come back, usually I'll come back to the ministry or something like that.
Yeah.
Because I want to make sure it gets out there,
Yes.
So that's not
community is obviously clearly important to you. So what role have the right people around you played in your healing and faith journey? And I don't mean, when we say healing and we're talking about healing, we're not talking about our physical bodies healing.
Right.
Because most of us will never see that. We're talking about healing from the trauma of having a chronic illness, healing from some of the things that have gone on since, and trying to get through them and past them. So what role have the right people played in helping you through this?
Well, not giving up on me is definitely one. Always being there. So like my girls have been, I've had Crohn's longer than they've been alive. So their entire childhood was, and I was a single parent for a long time. And so, they had their own go bags, and, it was just, they were so supportive. My oldest daughter had to take on the role around the house a lot. So that was very supportive. Even today, a few weeks ago, she went with me to Washington, D.C. to advocate for the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation.
That was awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was almost like full circle for her.
That's awesome.
She's done a lot. And, her little sister has started coming up. She's always been in the shadow a bit, but she's been able to help a lot since her big sister has moved to Florida. So she's had to kind of come and help some. My husband has been great. He married me not wholeheartedly understanding the disease, I don't think. Because, when you're dating someone, you don't have, you have your best foot forward.
Yeah.
And so, I wasn't, and I apologized to him a lot. I said, I'm so sorry. I wasn't so forthcoming with how sick I get. But, he hasn't gone away. And he's been through a lot. From a few days after we got back from our honeymoon, I had, bad complications, had to go to Chapel Hill. It was just, it's been nonstop. And he's, always been there to advocate and, just help me at home, at the hospital, getting me to the hospital, whatever. And my parents, for sure, when I was a single mom. My mom and dad aren't together anymore, it was kind of a blessing in a sense, because one would come up and stay for a little bit, and then the other one would come up and they would, kind of switch.
Tag team.
So so that was very helpful in the days prior to my ostomy surgery, when I was really, really in dire straits. I was running very high fevers, and I was losing a half a pound a day. I mean, my surgeon basically said, if you don't have the surgery, you're going to die. And I was like, oh, well, that's an obvious decision.
Well, we have to talk about that one.
But, that's, of course, your unit that I don't want to say you would expect. But, I have another community of people that have been just with me through thick and thin. A couple years ago, when I turned 50, I wanted to have a party, not because I wanted to have a party because, I want to have a party for me. I really wanted to have a party for the people that helped me get to 50, because there was many, many times that I didn't think I was going to see 50.
Yeah.
Because of so many close calls, so sick. And so that's who I invited to my party, was the people that helped me get to 50. So doctors, nurses. I mean,
Wow.
great. It was
That's cool.
It was such an amazing testament to them. And because, like I said, every day when the girls were younger, I just prayed. I was like, let me just get them to 18. Let me just get them to 18. And now I'm like, wait, can I take that back? I want to be a grandma. I want to do this, gotta do take backs. So, and then unfortunately, even though it was so great to have all those people at the party, I was not feeling well at the party at all. So that was a really big bummer. It's like, I want to do it again. But
go through all the prep work and you're like, I should have let somebody else prep this.
Oh, it wasn't, I didn't do it. My mom, it was just me.
It was
just a bad day. It was just a bad day. Probably the excitement and everything. But, there's so many people that I have been so blessed to have a village of people, and they've come in seasons. So when I was a single mom and the girls were younger, I had a great set of moms that would help me, take the kids to school, pick them up, that kind of stuff. Because they just knew, and we're still friends today. We're not as close because our kids are older and they're doing their own thing now. But at that time, they were amazing. And now I have another group of ladies that, just are kind of helping me grow spiritually, and just loving on Jesus, and just, helping me be able to kind of, help me to develop into what I think Jesus wants me to be, and what he wants the ministry to be. So, because we're only limited to a certain amount of time here, and we don't know what that end date is. So
that's true.
Try to get us
next year, 10 years, who knows?
Exactly.
It is a testament to those of us that have that kind of a circle. I have a small one. It's a small one, but I have an amazing few people in my circle who, especially my husband, who is just really supportive. I know there are a lot of you women out there who don't have that.
Yeah.
And, I see it in the Facebook groups. I see it, all the time. I understand that is difficult. And I do understand some of the dynamics, because there are a few people in my life that, though they understand one thing or say one thing, they, aren't as supportive as other people. But you get to choose who's in your circle.
That's right.
So choose wisely.
Well, and I was just going to say one additional thing with the ministry is why we have a support, like a small group that we do once a month. the first Thursday of the month. It's on a Zoom. And so anybody, anywhere, person that is struggling with their chronic illness, or even caregivers, because we don't ever want to forget about the caregivers.
No.
They can hop on, and it's faith-based, and it's really not so much about poor me, type of thing, but we dig in the scripture, we find, try to find everybody's purpose in their pain, and just, letting people know that they're not alone. And we also have like a little Telegram, message texting thing, just to kind of help support each other in between the small group. So, that's another part of the ministry that we're starting to expand a bit more, because it can be very lonely. It can be very isolating, especially, depending upon what you're struggling with. Some illnesses are easier to talk about than others.
Right.
And so just being able to allow people to know that this is a place that you can talk about it, and you don't have to worry about judgment or people making fun of you or anything like that, because we all have something, and we totally understand. So that's what we try to do.
If you're looking for a community, then I suggest you look into that, because it can be hard to have people understand, even to the extent that they can, what we're going through, and to have the sympathy and the compassion, because even caregivers get tired.
Yeah, they do.
And, as wonderful as they can be, it gets exhausting.
Sure.
I've been both caregiver and the patient, so I know. So yeah, I would look into that if you have. Well, so this has been over 30 years of something for you. Were there ever moments that you wanted to just give up?
Yes, I can tell you about my most recent one.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, this one sits really hard. When I was having complications this last couple months, and I was up in Chapel Hill, and luckily all these years I've had Crohn's, I never had to have an NG tube. So, and I experienced my very first NG tube. For those that don't know what that is, it's the tube that goes through your nose, the back of your throat, into your stomach. And
feeding tube, right?
Well, it's more of
completely.
No, it more is basically sucking what's in your belly out.
Oh, fun! That's fun.
It's gross.
Got
but
it.
Anyway, it's uncomfortable, and you can't eat, and you can't drink, and you can't brush your teeth, and you can't do anything but lay there and be miserable. And that was 6 days of my life post surgery, and it was horrible. I felt like I had God on one shoulder and the devil on the other, and the devil was like, just give up, just you can't get through this. This is one of the hardest things you've ever had to go through. And then I've got, God on the other shoulder going, I am your strength. You will get through this. Do not give up. And I'm going to drop kick that devil on the other shoulder.
Talk about spiritual warfare, man.
Oh, it was horrible. It was so hard. I mean, I slept a lot just because I just didn't even want to be awake for it.
Wow.
It was just, it was, and then, I mean, every day the doctors would come in. I'm like, are we getting this out? Can I get this tube out? Can I get this tube out? Not today. I'm like, oh. So that was very, very difficult. And I would say another time that was very challenging and really had to just give it all to God was, they were having to stretch open my ostomy every 4 to 6 weeks because I kept getting blockages. And one time they accidentally nicked an artery.
Oh, jeez.
But we didn't know it at the time until the next day. And so, I was doing my thing with my ostomy. I'm like, why is there blood coming out? I've never had that happen. And so, went to the doctor, and they're like, you're bleeding internally. I'm like, oh, shoot. So, into the hospital.
Now. Yeah.
So they go in to fix it, and they're like, well, let's just keep you here overnight. And I'm like, okay. And so I was eating my breakfast and all that. And I said, well, let me just change my bag before I leave. And I take my bag off, and it looks like a gunshot wound. It was bleeding again. What they did, the clamps didn't work or something. I don't know. I think they were trying to cauterize it. But anyway, they were like, we have to take you back to the OR now, or else you're going to bleed out. I'm like, okay. And I had just eaten. And so they said, we have to take you now with no anesthesia.
Oh my God, Tina.
So I was completely awake, and they were going through my ostomy trying to put clamps in, and I could hear everything, smell everything, see everything.
Oh
and my doc, who I'd known for a very long time, is like, I had no idea you knew all those words. I was like,
dude, when you live with chronic illness, you know words.
But man, God got me through that. He gave me, because it was, they had to take, like they put stuff under your nose so you don't pass out, because they didn't want me passing out.
Salts,
Yeah. So they trying to keep me awake, and I ended up being a case study because of that. But that
I can see that, yeah.
That again was, man, just, I was like, it was so hard. It was so hard. I'm like, why is this happening? Why,
Shoot, girl, I thought my last kidney biopsy was bad. I'll
are bad.
Take that over this. Good Lord. Well, it's a miracle of God that you are alive and now a case study.
Right.
Because that typically, especially the way that it happened, kind of more like a slow leak instead of something quick, because you nick an artery, literally what they don't ever show everything right on TV about doctor shows, but what I know from my parents who are in the medical field, that's a very close death thing there. So I can, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Praise God. All right.
It's easy. So, I have some stories, man.
I bet you are. Yes, you do, because people would actually understand all of that. Oof. All right. And I just ordered myself with water. That's fine.
Yeah. At least it was water.
Yes. So what would you say to the woman who's listening today, who feels like she's stuck in that valley and cannot possibly see the victory that's ahead of her?
Oh, I've been that lady. I've been that person.
More ways than one, right?
Yeah. Gosh, I would, first and foremost, I would find a community. If you can, you need, when you're that down and you're struggling that much, I'd say first find Jesus, but if you haven't found Jesus yet, I would say find a community that can help pull you up. Yeah. And most likely that group of people know Jesus, because they wouldn't be pulling you up if they didn't. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, and just, I always say that if my eyes open in the morning, then God has more work for me to do. Yeah. And I would tell her that. I would say, look, if your eyes open, then God still has work for you to do. You may not be able to see it, but try and trust that next step that you can't see, because he's definitely has you on a mission. He has a purpose for you. I don't know what it is. You might not know what it is, but that's where the blind faith comes in. And that's where we just have to trust in that if we are still here, there is a reason, because many times, like I've said, I shouldn't be here. You shouldn't be here. Many of your listeners shouldn't be here, but God clearly wants us here because he has work for us to do. And so that is an honor. That's why, just one foot in front of the other, 1 second at a time is what I would tell her. And I would be one of those people that is at the bottom of the valley with her, helping her get up.
Yeah, I see that. I very much see that. If you have not looked into Tina and her business, please do, because I see that so much in you, that desire to want to build that community and to bring women alongside you, that is a beautiful thing.
Thank
So
you.
as we wrap
Um,
this up, when you look back now, what
Mhm.
does warrior mean to you now?
Ooh, that's a good question. It means community. It means not walking alone. It means having people, having the willingness to have people help you, and you being willing to help others. You can't always just get the help without giving back. A warrior gives back as well. A warrior is not necessarily someone who is just so strong and nothing bothers them. I think a warrior is transparent and honest in what they are going through, and that honesty helps others. And a true warrior, I believe, also is a really good storyteller as far as telling their story, telling their triumphs, telling their tragedies, in order to help other people. Because there's something I always see rolling around on Facebook about, your story can be someone's guidebook or something along those lines. I can't remember exactly what it is, but that's why I'm so open about, what has happened to me, not for sympathy, although sometimes people think that. And, I try to shut that down because I don't want this stuff happening to me, but God clearly has a purpose for it. And so it's supposed to be shared and to help others. But yeah, a warrior, there's so many different kinds of warriors out there. There's not like a one set definition, but
Right.
I would say what I was saying, just kind of overall, just someone who, just wants to help others and just never give up. Just never give up.
Great. Well, Tina, thank you so much for sharing your story and your heart today. I know so many women listening are going to feel seen, heard, strengthened, understood by your honesty.
Oh,
So
thank you. Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. I appreciate
Of
it.
course. And if you'd like to connect with Tina, you can find her at Warrior Braids Ministry on Instagram or visit warriorsbraidministry.org. I'll have all the links down in the show notes. And friend, if this conversation encouraged you and then please make sure that you subscribe to the Invisible Illness Club podcast newsletter called The Unseen Sisterhood, so you don't miss any future episodes. And don't forget, even when life feels like one long valley, there's still victory ahead. You're not walking this road alone.
Thanks for hanging out with me today. If this episode spoke to you, share it with a friend who gets it. And if you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Until then, take care of yourself. You're doing better than you think.